Subspecies is a low-budget vampire movie from Full Moon Pictures, starring an over-the-top, scene-chewing villain in the form of Radu. The direct-to-video studio have put out some entertaining B-movies, but they do also have a lot of trash, so let's hope for the best. Welcome everyone to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Tim.
Hello, Peter. Thank you for having me.
And that is Tim's impression of Dracula taking a shit. And also welcoming me at the same time. So, yes. Welcome. It is October. It is the October Dawn. We are doing a bunch of episodes, and we had a list of movies to work off of, and Tim decided to ignore that list and watch something at random and said, Peter, we're doing an episode on this. And I, for some reason, agreed to it. We are looking at Subspecies, the 1991 direct-to-video Full Moon Pictures film, produced by Charles Band, and written at least partly by Charles Band. He's co-writer on this. Ted Nicolaou is the director. It's a vampire movie. Yeah. Yes, Tim?
I said, Ted.
Oh, you know Ted?
Yeah, friend of the show, you might say.
Oh, I've never heard of him, so that's surprising, but I'll take your word for it. So welcome, everyone. We'll start spoiler-free as we always do, as we talk about 1991 vampire movie Subspecies, with a cameo by Angus Scrimm at the start. But this is a movie about three students, two who are American, one who is maybe Romanian. I wasn't entirely clear. But they're visiting some of the castles and stuff around Transylvania for their PhD. And of course,
as you do,
there's a vampire who may get into some trouble with them, named Radu.
Radu. That's
the vampire. So
Radu.
So we'll get into it. Tim, what possessed you to watch Subspecies, I wonder?
So I mean, the honest answer is because they had a sequel that just came out this year. It was the fifth installment in the franchise, and I had actually heard like people say it was kind of good. So I was like, all right, I if the fifth entry in the Subspecies franchise is pretty good, I'm gonna have to watch the whole franchise to see. I'd seen the first one before, maybe not even that long ago, maybe like a year or two ago, and I do have a comic book for it as well, which I read and enjoyed. What you seem astonished?
It's the most like niche like franchise that no one's ever really heard of except a few hardcore horror nerds. It's just funny to me.
Oh, of course, yeah. But so that was basically my my thinking going in here is like, if they have a new movie out, I can watch all the old movies.
I mean, that's just the work of a genius.
I did pat myself on the back when I thought of that.
Well, I mean, what are you if not the present day Oppenheimer?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what's funny? As I decided, not with the first episode we did for Octoberthon, but the second one we recorded, I decided to basically try and wear a shirt and tie for most episodes. Because I've got a commitment for Patreon to wear a shirt and tie on a number of episodes, and I thought,
that's the weirdest commitment.
I know, I'll go above and beyond for Octoberthon, but I made the decision not to bother for Subspecies, which is why I'm not wearing a shirt and tie. So
I should make a Patreon tier where I wear a pumpkin on my head.
Do you own a pumpkin to put in your head?
I can find one. I know a guy.
Some shady backdoor pumpkin salesman? Yeah, I'd heard of the franchise. It's, I looked into Full Moon a little bit when they were releasing Blu-rays about a decade or so ago, and that's where I first saw a couple of the Puppet Masters and things like that.
Oh yeah.
So, we did Puppet Master 1 and 2.
That's right.
And we're still slowly working through that. We'll get to 3 at some point. I mean, there's no plans immediately, but we'll get there. But Tim thought we did our Full Moon Pictures franchise to work through, and he's even threatening to rush us through it in a very short span of time.
Maybe people might get a little October treat.
Maybe, Tim. Maybe. But yes, we're here to talk about the first one. I had seen this about a decade or so ago, like I said, but I think I put it on in the background and probably barely paid attention to it. So this was practically a first time viewing.
Oh, sure.
Like, I remembered what the vampire looked like because he had a kind of distinct look, but other than that, it was all, all forgotten. So, all in the mist.
You mementoed yourself, basically.
I did memento myself, yes.
You just have a big tattoo on your back that says Radu. You're like, what does it mean?
Sounds like a dance or something.
The Radu.
We're going to do the Radu. So it sounds like.
Step 1, pull off your fingers. Let them turn into demons.
No spoilies. No spoilies.
Oh, sorry, I've just ruined the first 4 minutes of the movie.
Sometimes the opening scene can introduce a big thing that wasn't revealed before. You don't know.
I'll introduce you to a big thing.
Jesus. Oh. 3 young women are visiting Romania, specifically Transylvania. Tim, what did you think of the movie?
Wow, what a plot summary.
And leave your cock out of it.
Yeah, so I do have fun with this one. It's definitely not perfect by any means. It is basically the Radu show for me. Anytime he pops up, he is so hammy and chewing the scenery, and I just love, like, I don't know, he just seems like such a dirtbag. Like, he's just like so evil and like constantly like drooling blood and looking hideous that I just love like a very unrepentant, like monstrous kind of vampire instead of like, the dreamy hunk boats that we see in other franchises that we sometimes cover on the show.
Also, this franchise.
I mean, yeah, they do have, kind of the opposite.
Yes, there was a hunky vampire in this too.
Yeah. But yeah, like anytime he shows up, I have a lot of fun. Like the opening sequence is like kind of dumb and over the top. And then, there's some other stuff, throughout that are not too bad. And, I have some fun, with it. I do think, when Radu's not around, it can be a little boring at times. The no offense, but the main characters aren't like super interesting.
Radu equals poo-poo.
Exactly. But I mean, it's a short movie, and so it's not like it's like super boring or uninteresting or whatever. And it's a straight to video Full Moon movie, so you kind of know what that means and what you're getting with it. The production values aren't always the best. The music sounds like a little, I don't know, kind of generic or whatever. But
it sounds like a knockoff of the Puppet Master's theme, so I'm pretty sure the same guy composed both, because it sounds like it's the same instruments. It's got some similar notes in there, and it just kind of pivots at the right points, just so it doesn't sound the exact same.
Also, I could be wrong, but it seemed like there was a lot of like night for day shooting in this. Like there are times where I was like, I think it's supposed to be night, but
when it was proper nighttime, it was nighttime. But there was a lot of, if it's meant to be just after the sunset or just before the sun rises, dusk and dawn, as it's more commonly known.
From dusk till dawn.
When it's those times, it is just daytime, but a little dull. Like that's all it is. So it's like, oh, vampires can't walk out in the daytime, but then they're just sauntering around. It's like, oh no, technically it's still nighttime for a few more seconds. They're not quite at the burning capacity yet.
So I mean, yeah, but I guess to summarize, yeah, it's a little weird. Like as a movie, I'm not crazy about it, but I love Radu so much that it's like, yeah, I'm here for him. You know, it's Radu for me. That's the selling point for this flick.
It's Radu for me.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's, you know, just in this one movie alone, he cements his status as horror icon. Like
icon. Oh, bye. Yeah.
Like I don't know. I'm sure. I know like Full Moon has done some other versus movies. I'd have to check and see if there's ever a Radu versus Puppet Master or I don't know, whatever they have. Trancers or something.
Trancers.
Full Moon?
Yeah. Oh, that was Full Moon. Me and Tara did all the Trancers movies as bonus episodes on the Ace on Patreon. Mm-hmm. So,
which is still available that people can go ahead and listen to if they sign up.
Absolutely, you can go back and get all those 52 bonus episodes that me and Tara did,
along with bonus episodes of this show and many others.
Yes. Yeah, although Ace actually has more bonus episodes because your paternity leaves let Ace get ahead by quite a significant amount. So,
God damn it! All right, shut it down.
You're just gonna have to work extra harder in October to bring them a lot of bonus episodes, Tim. That's just how it's. You're gonna have to catch up.
Okay, I see where you're going.
Yes, 50 bonus episodes this October. No, I kid. No, I'm not promising that. No one get their hopes up.
I mean, if you can count 5-minute episodes as bonuses, that's very doable. Just go over what I had for lunch that day.
But yes, yeah, this is not a good movie. It's poorly paced. Despite the fact that it's only 80 minutes, there's so much time spent in this movie that's clearly just stretching out what little material they have at a script by just like lingering on things happening slowly to stretch out to get to 80 minutes. Like Radu does, chew the scenery, and that can be entertaining. I enjoy the stop motion and puppetry when the little guys are involved. But it's a really, really shitty script in a lot of ways where it just kind of glosses over, like things just happen, right? We just skip ahead and we're at the next thing without there being any like build up to some stuff, and they don't really like. There's basically transitions in this movie where someone will say, "Oh, I'm going out to look for something," and then they'll go out and they'll immediately get captured, and then it'll cut to them immediately in a situation, and then it'll cut to them immediately being saved, and it happens all. There was no like search, like there was no like countdown, like try to save her in time or anything like that. It just cuts to no. The dude shows up. It's over.
Some people might say that makes the world feel lived in.
No, it doesn't. And no, they wouldn't.
Well, some people, yeah.
No, who are these people? Name them. Name names.
Kyle.
Who is this Kyle and where does he live?
Patreon member number 45. Kyle Truck.
Kyle Truck. Tim, I noticed your eyes wandering there for a second. Is there a possibility that you looked over and saw maybe one of your children's toys that was maybe a truck and thought, that'll do?
I can neither confirm or deny that.
You just looked at it again. I can see it. I can see it in your eyes. You're full of shit. You and this Kyle.
Oh bother.
Oh dear. Yeah, it is a direct-to-video movie through and through, with all the warts that comes with. It looks better than a modern like direct-to-video movie because it's made at a time where they had to use film, and they did at least shoot this on location in Romania. I believe they shot at least the first 3, maybe the first 4 on location there, so that's neat. At least it's got real locations, they've got real buildings and stuff. That's all cool.
You travel to Romania and you can see the actual castle that Dracula lived in, and also where Radu hung out.
You know Dracula's a fictional character, right, Tim?
Oh, I'm sorry, Vlad Tepes or whatever.
Yeah. Also, it has one of the most undercooked romances that I've ever seen in a movie. Two characters.
Okay, this is where I'm gonna fight you because
two characters literally just look at each other smitting once, and then the next time someone talks about the other, someone accuses them of falling in love. Like, no.
Hey, as a romantic myself, I sometimes that does happen.
Oh, you and Kyle?
When you know.
Oh dear. So yeah, the pacing's horrible, which is shocking given that it's only 80 minutes. There are moments of enjoyment, right? I enjoy the intro for the most part, and I enjoy bits here or there. But overall, as a package, I have to say I was pretty bored for large stretches of this. I was finding it difficult to pay attention, especially when there was old people giving them exposition of some event that happened centuries ago, where vampires fought off the Turks and made a pact with the gypsy women or something.
Yeah. I'm laughing because I'm imagining how different Twilight would have been if Robert Pattinson's character, if he just looked like Radu.
Oh yeah. I'm also thinking how much more entertaining this would have been if Radu was actually Nandor from What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh god, yeah. Well, I mean, any movie could use a little Nandor in it.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
But maybe the show does like to pepper in fun little vampire references. So I wonder if they did a Subspecies reference in an episode.
I mean, I'm not going to rule it out, but my sneak suspicion is that Subspecies is a little too small time for them to reference.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's
just
5 movies is impressive, though. I mean, there's actually movies that never get sequels.
I mean, that's not a bad thing, Tim. There's lots of movies. I would say there's more movies that have had sequels that shouldn't have had sequels than there is movies that don't have sequels.
Oh, wow. The claws are out.
And let's face it, Charles Band probably greenlit more of these just because he had access to the location for extra time. He's like, oh, I can go back to those castles and shoot. Oh yeah, I'll make another one. Why not?
Is a mix of that and also the people are demanding it. They wanted more subspecies. Subspecies.
Where was this chanting outside the offices of Full Moon in 1992?
Yeah, probably. Either that or a men's prison somewhere.
I just love that you specified men's prison. The women prisoners, those criminals don't want anything to do with filming pictures and Subspecies, but the male prisoners, they're all about it. They're just the type of deviants that Charles Band attracts to his product.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Deviants.
Look, normally I may get annoyed at how unfocused you're perhaps driving an episode.
Oh, me too.
Tim.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot to this one, so by all means, kill as much time as you feel like you can.
Oh, absolutely. So the myth of the vampire was created by Joss Whedon in...
Oh dear. Shall we give the spoiler warning so we can at least occasionally mention what was happening in the movie?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Play the sound cue.
We should have a sound cue for go to the spoiler section. You know that now that you've mentioned it, there should be a scream or something.
Yeah, let's find the actor that played Radu, see if he's on Cameo, and we can pay for him to say something like beware, spoiler country is it's open for business. Yeah, the country is open for business.
I feel like the end of that sentence was maybe something more like upon us, but
how would a country be upon you though? That's
because you're traveling to it. like you get to the, but you're traveling to Canada and you realize you're a male from Canada. You say Canada is upon us.
That's what I would say.
Well, you might.
Like everyone else on the bus would like just slowly like move away from me, like all right, psycho.
Okay, no, maybe like a clock chime and then a scream, because you know midnight and then scream, a scream after midnight.
Oh, that's good. All right.
Yeah,
I will. All right, I'll tell a very, very quick.
Tim, even you telling us you're going to tell a quick story's not quick. The amount of pause, I could fit a goddamn Lord of the Rings movie in the pauses between the very and very.
I was just trying to think, what's the name of that band? Is it Three Floors Down?
3 Doors Down, I think.
Three Doors Down. All right. They're the ones that sing that song, like "If I Go Crazy, Man, You Still Call Me Superman." You know that song I'm talking about?
I think so. Yes.
All right. So the reason why I'm thinking about it is because we mentioned taking a bus to Canada, which reminded me when I was like probably 20. Me, my girlfriend, my friend, and his girlfriend, we took a bus trip up to Canada. And we had like just the most annoying bus driver, and like when we got on the bus, like the first thing he did is like he turned around to all of us, which mostly ended up being like me and like my girlfriend, because I think we kind of sat close up front, but he turned around to us and he just said, "Hey, I know what you kids like," and then he just popped in a Three Doors Down CD and just and he just like listened to that like all the way to Canada.
I know what you kids like.
Which like, yeah, it was like, I think they had like that one hit song, and then like, but even that was like super old by the time, like, you know, this was, I don't know, like mid 2000s ish or whatever. But
yeah,
it definitely been like years.
I feel like the only song I really knew from them was the one they had in American Pie 2 for whatever, because I think the music video was on the DVD, so I think I vaguely remember that one. But that was like 2002, so yeah, before this trip, for the sounds of it.
Yeah. Wow, what a fun trip. Maybe they'll make a movie about it someday.
You think there's enough plot in the I had to listen to Three Doors Down on a bus for several hours?
Well, I mean, other stuff happened. Like when we got into Canada, we had poutine.
You're a trailblazer, Tim. You're an explorer and an entrepreneur.
I'm also hungry for poutine now. I'm thinking about it.
Okay, well, vampires are hungry for blood, so let's talk about Subspecies, everyone.
Ooh, now, why is it called Subspecies, you think?
Because the species is vampires, but then Radu creates these little blood demons from his blood, and that's the subspecies.
Those are the subspecies?
I think those are the subspecies.
They're not the biggest part of the movie. Like, you shouldn't name the movie after them.
I agree. They're honestly, I feel like after the opening scene, the only thing they really do is drop a net on someone. Like, they just kind of watch occasionally and...
Yeah.
You know, make some faces. They don't really do a whole lot.
Yeah, they're not fun like Gremlins. Like, there's not, like, they're not like, you know, doing crazy antics or
even Puppet Master. Full Moon Pictures did that movie.
That's true. Yeah,
like,
yeah.
They've got experience with the knee-high mischief, as it were.
Do we get experience points whenever we do a podcast? Do I level up?
Yes, Tim, I'll give you 20 experience points at the end of the episode.
That would be funny if you could see like your level in real life. Whatever though.
I'm half tempted to make a graphic of a bar that's slowly filling up under your face over the next like year, and then maybe we'll do something special when you hit level 2.
Oh, nice. Oh, only level 2. Oh my god.
Well, I'll just started keeping track, Tim.
Okay. Yeah, maybe when we hit like level 2, maybe I can pick the movie we do or something.
You picked this one, you bastard. Oh, Jesus.
By the way, you know what my favorite subspecies is? Just a nice turkey and cheese on a whole wheat bread. Because sub is another name for
I got
sandwich.
it. I got it, Tim. Oh, all right. So, the opening scene of the movie is Radu killing his father, played by Angus Scrimm, who is the vampire king, who, as we learn throughout the movie, has been living peacefully with the humans because they made a pact. In fact, he was the one who led the charge to save the locals from the Turks centuries ago, and in return, they got him the Bloodstone, which is a big plot twist to this, the MacGuffin of the movie. It's this special stone that effectively oozes blood of the saints, and it can feed a vampire. So he just feeds off that and doesn't kill anyone, and everyone sort of lives peacefully. But Radu is an evil little shit who wants to be a monster, who wants to be evil, and he insists on getting the Bloodstone when his father dies, and he's like, no, you'll be too evil. And he puts him in a cage, but Radu cuts off his own fingers, and then from the blood of his fingers, these little red demon things that are about 8 inches tall form, and well, basically he kills his father. That's the long and short of it. He kills his father.
So I do think that I think it's basically this opening scene is why I have any type of love for this movie, because it does start off with such a banger. Like, if you're just explaining to someone that, oh yeah, this movie starts off with an evil vampire son killing the king of vampires, his father, by pulling off his own fingers and creating these blood demons, like, you're just like right away like, oh, holy crap, like that sounds like the best movie. Like, I don't know, I think it's an absolute banger of an opening. And I mean, we're talking about before too, the wig work on Angus Scrimm is just to die for. He's
not only this big stupid wig that he's wearing, you can clearly see the line of the wig like on his forehead. Like, they did not mean this to ever be seen in HD, because you can clearly see where the wig starts.
It is just a shame that, like, when he's dying, he doesn't like scream out, "Boy!"
That would have been good. That would have been good. So we're introduced to our 3 leads, 3 college ladies, 2 of which are American.
Ladies.
Cause what's weird is I got the impression that the one who has the accent, who I think is Romanian, was sort of local, but I think she's just like from the country, because the town still sees her as like something of a foreigner. But
yeah, it's hard to keep some of this stuff straight because it is so boring. But I thought that she like was from there, but then, or at least like somewhere in the area, but then went to college wherever these girls went and was like,
yes,
hey, we should go back to my hometown or whatever. And then that was that.
She has a proper Transylvania voice at times, though, depending on what she's saying.
I want my PhD.
Oh dear. So, what amused me is she lets one of the American girls drive her car to like where they're going, and I thought, you're just breaking the law. She does not have a license here. I'm willing to bet you money.
You're right.
Just a thought. But there's no hotels apparently here, which is not even a little bed and breakfast. That is weird. But okay. So they've arranged to stay at the palace, which they're actually studying, because there's a little area that's kind of kept maintained for researchers and things like that. So they drive to the palace, they get shown around. The groundskeeper, or whoever he is, the old man, is very stern, but sort of tells them where everything is and all that. He ends up being a major player. he knows all about the hunting the vampires. We're also introduced. This is a little bit later, but we're introduced to what's his name, Stefan, who's the hunky man who's apparently a zoologist who's studying night creatures, so he comes and goes at odd hours, which is basically just a big neon sign saying he's also a vampire.
What's so funny about this scene where he's first introduced is he's like, oh yeah, I'm studying like nocturnal animal habits or whatever, and like the girls are immediately like, oh cool, like tell us something about them, and he's like, maybe later. He's just instantly like, wow, I did not plan any type of follow-up for that.
Yes, but the short brunette hair late chick, she's like staring at him. She's like, oh, we're fascinated by that because that ties into the folklore, and we're studying historical folklore. And then when he goes away, like, one of the friends just starts making fun of her and be like, so it's like. But that's just like a good 20 minutes into the movie, because there's several scenes of these three girls just exploring the grounds and going to talk to like this old woman who tells them some backstory. And I swear I was falling asleep during like any of these scenes where someone's just telling them stuff for like 5 minutes.
Yeah. This stuff is like really hard. Like I also feel like there's just like long stretches where like there's like not like a lot of dialogue or something, so it feels like it makes it kind of easier to zone out when it just has that like I don't know, like melodic, I don't know, elevator music or whatever going on in the background. You're like,
what a harsh critique of the soundtrack. It was elevator music.
Spooky elevator music, to be fair. Like it, it would be a Halloween elevator for sure.
It was tonally appropriate elevator music.
Yeah.
So basically,
have you bought a big skeleton yet, Pete, for Halloween?
No, I have not. I'm afraid no.
Okay.
No. But I did. So the first thing that kind of kicks everything off, otherwise though, is that they're near the door to like one of the crypts or something, and one of the girls, the other American girl with the long hair, the blonde hair, she sticks her arm into the sort of like the mechanism for the door and is trying to get it open. And while she's got her arm in there, it's getting dark, and they're all saying, "Oh, we should go back before it gets dark properly." She like feels like something cut her arm. She pulls it out. Now I didn't immediately get that this was actually a bite. I thought this was just her nicking her arm. But as soon as they leave, Radu like just opens the door and pokes his head out, and it's like, oh, now he's got a taste for them. He knows there's young women here. But what cracked me up is that this door is clearly so light and like fragile, and he's opening it very slow. I'm like, that. You're telling me that they could have just pushed this open before, because this looks so so easy to like just break down. Like it's clearly this felt like it wasn't part of the real surroundings. This was something they put in so they could have a door, and it looked really cheap and light. And so that stuck out to me. I wanted to mention that. I will say there's the occasional good shot of like Radu walking down like a dark tunnel, and there's like some fog, like they've got a smoke machine. Yeah. And it'll be in like silhouette. There's a few good shots like that sprinkled throughout this kind of section.
More when it's like actual night, like when it's just turning night. Like I think in that scene, like Radu opens the door, but it's just like, I don't know, it's not nighttime. It's like you can still like see the sun and see very clearly. Like
yes,
I don't know.
They were really banking on people's shitty standard definition TVs at the time, just making this harder to tell.
Do you know I have one of the most advanced televisions in the country?
What's so advanced about it, Tim?
I think mine's a 10K. I have to double check, but I'm pretty sure when I bought it, they said it was one of the 10K prototypes. That would be the only one that has it.
First of all, that doesn't exist. Secondly,
it's a prototype.
Secondly, they went from 4K to 8K. So why would you think the next step up would be 10K? Surely it'd be 12. If anything, it wouldn't even be 12. It'd be 16 because it's quadruple. Like it would be like 4 8Ks, like making one big screen. It'd be 16K.
Yeah, for the next model, they didn't find that much more K. It was just two that they were able to find.
They go looking for K. That's how they make TVs these days, is it? Oh dear. So the next day, it's after. So they go and talk to the woman the next day, and she's like telling them some of this history about the making the pact with the vampires and all that. They just,
do we even know do we even know exactly like what they're trying to study? Like, I feel like they just kind of keep saying like, oh, we're looking for historical stuff. Like
historical folklore is, I think, the closest they ever got to being specific.
Cool.
Yeah. After they talk to the women, like the one who was bit but doesn't realize it was a bite starts to feel a bit woozy, so she sits down and they end up like going for a nap on the hill. Just on the grass, they just go to sleep, and when they wake up, it's getting dark. So Radu is like, comes out and sees them leaving, and he sort of follows them back to where they're staying. And he comes in the middle of the night, and he bites the arm again of the American chick, and after he bites the arm a bit and he's got blood coming down his face and he's like really into it, he sort of like has a moment. He goes, what else can I do? And he just immediately pulls down her shirt, looks at her one boob and goes, oh, and then just decides to bite her in the neck. And I'm like, what was the boob for then? If you were just going to bite her in the neck, you're.
I know what you're saying, but the way you phrase it made it sound like she only has one boob. Like, she has two boobs.
She has two boobs, but only one's exposed.
Yeah.
He only cops a look at one of them.
Yeah, I thought people might be confused, like, oh, there's like some one boob chick in this or something. Like, no, it's.
I thought we were going to get a gross scene where he correct, because we've not mentioned this, but Radu has some big like prosthetic fingers, so he's got like long nails and long fingers. They're kind of going for. They even, in fact, when he's coming in here, they even do like their version of the Nosferatu shadow coming into the room.
Shadow. Obviously,
it looks much worse than Nosferatu's though, but credit where credit is due. Yeah. Points for effort, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Points for effort. So she's sick the next day, and the doctor comes and is like, "You've lost a lot of blood." And she's like, "That can't be. How would I have lost a lot of blood? I don't know. Where's the bite mark in your neck? Are we just not going to talk about that? Ignore it? Okay."
Yeah. One thing. Maybe it's not important, but I don't know if you thought this, but like I think at first with the opening scene, I thought that was like taking place in the past, because like it was like
I can see that, yeah.
Because I mean they're in like a castle, and the king of the vampires has like a very old timey look to him and everything. So I think at some point I was confused when it's like, yeah, Radu was just kind of like showing up like like just walking out the door like, hey, I'm here.
Well, he's been alive for centuries. He just never changed his style. That's that's the answer, I guess, I can give to you. Because we find out, of course, that Radu and Stefan are brothers.
Yeah.
Because when Stefan tries to confront him for killing their dad, Radu chokes him for a bit, but then just kind of lets him go for some reason, and we'll see them fight again later. So look forward to that.
I love you, bro.
Bros before hoes, Stefan.
Okay, if you're wondering if Stefan has the same accent as Radu, he does not.
No, he doesn't. He has an accent, but it's not. Yeah, it's not that voice by any means.
Just imagine like the double dates they go like. The poor woman that has to be stuck with Radu. So, what type of movies do you like?
I like these scary movies. Especially Scary Movie 4. So part of their research involves looking at local culture, and there's like a festival happening. So the two healthy girls decide to go to that, despite the fact that their friend's lying on her deathbed. So they go there and they're taking photos.
Well, Pete, there might be good folklore at the festival to study.
There might be. So Stefan eventually shows up and says, "What are you doing here? It's dangerous." Whilst Radu kills the old woman that gave them information earlier. It has like a creepy moment in the crowd where he's got the mask on, and then he unmasks and he grabs the Romanian girl because she's left on her own. Basically, the short-haired girl gets like worried that maybe something's wrong with the girl they've left back at the palace. So she's like, "I'm going to go and check on her," and leaves her on her own. And would you believe it? She gets kidnapped by Radu.
Yeah. Now I just want to point out because like when we talk about these like crappy movies or whatever, like it is always nice, I feel like, to point out some positive stuff, and I will give him credit. Sure. Like I thought this scene with Radu like in the festival like was a pretty decent scene. Like I thought it was shot well. Like yeah, you see this glimpse of him like taking off this mask or whatever, and then he's gone the next shot. Not like it's like a terribly hard thing to do or whatever, but I don't know, I thought it was effective and cool.
Yeah, it stuck out a little bit. There's the odd good shot in this movie that kind of sticks out from just killing time by looking at the forest and the castles and shit, because there's a lot of stuff that's just that, and like the girls walking past that stuff, whereas like the moment where he's standing still and he's wearing the mask still, but he's just standing staring at her as everyone else is moving, it's a creepy enough little moment, certainly by this movie standards it's quite good. So
and I forget exactly what the whole point of the festival, but it seems like one part of it is like stabbing this grave, which I don't know. I'd go to that festival. That sounds pretty cool.
It was something to do with because this town and village all take the undead and demons very seriously. So it is something to literally do with like warding them off or something like that.
Yeah. So I like that. That kind of gives it a little atmosphere.
Yeah.
And stuff. It's cool.
It's clearly not working very well though, because Radu is just there walking around.
Yeah, and you gotta assume that all right, the king of the vampires is drinking from this bloodstone, but like. Radu's not following that shit. Like he must have been killing people at least once a day or so. Like,
well, they do make a point of saying that like people don't go near a lot of these ruins. They intentionally stay away by and large. And the old man who's like the caretaker of the palace that showed the girls around, as time goes on, it's clear that he knows about vampires and like was working with the king. He's upset when when he finds out the king has died, and he's like, "Oh, Stefan, we got to take care of that shitty brother of yours." In fact, we see him like getting his arsenal ready. He's got stakes, he's got like spears, he's got an axe, and then he whips out a shotgun. And obviously Stefan's like, "That won't do anything to him. He's a vampire." He's like, "Nah. I've got wooden pellets that we're going to fire at him." Which I'm not sure. Like, part of me thinks that wooden pellets might just like burn up when they're fired.
Very good point. Yeah,
but I'm no scientist. Like someone else can, tell me if that's true. But
I assume MythBusters did an episode of this movie.
Oh, I'm sure that's got that's got enough eyes on it that MythBusters like, oh, we have to see if this will work. Because there's definitely been other movies where they say like, oh, it's the metal shell, like you got the metal shell still, but once the bullet's inside, it explodes and there's wood inside that it like lets into the heart or some shit.
I wish you'd let me into your heart.
Okay. So actually, one of the annoying editing things here that just made no sense structurally to me is that we get this scene at the parade or the festival where Radu pops up behind the foreign chick and grabs her, and then it cuts to short-haired chick arriving at the palace, and she runs into the bedroom where the other American girl is, and Radu's there feasting. He's drinking her blood. And I'm like, the way this movie presented these events to me is that Radu was doing his thing at the festival while she was driving back to the palace. And I know he's a vampire, right? But it feels like he's just teleported.
Oh, sure.
It didn't make any sense to me. It's just really clunky. And it's like, okay, you didn't think about this. Like, was there meant to be other scenes here, or did you just not care? You probably just didn't care. but
Yeah.
that's worth mentioning. And they're hoping she's going to survive still, but she dies the next day. And obviously she actually rises a vampire like the next night. So, and meanwhile, the Romanian lady has been chained up in like a dungeon somewhere, and her shirt's been all ripped, so we get some more boobage, because the movie has a boobage quota to fill, I guess. And, okay, she's just been held captive, and the rest of the characters are all forming plans. Stefan, the old man, and our short-haired lady are all being like, okay, how do we find him? We have to find his coffin. Oh, he's not in the coffin that he was in before. Where is he hiding? We're going to have to find him. And there's a whole sequence here where Stefan chases after him when sun's about to come up, and Stefan ends up like collapsing, and he's about to die in the sunlight until the old man like comes up in a carriage with a coffin. And he's like, come on, Stefan, I'll get you in the coffin. Are you going to burn up? And sure enough.
Yeah, they don't really go into like a ton of like vampire lore, but I think the one thing they mention is that they do have to like sleep in their crypt or something like that, which because that's what they're looking for Radu.
Yeah. Honestly, it wasn't like I wasn't sure if did they have to sleep in the same coffin, or can they just will any coffin do? It was kind of unclear, to be honest. But
good question,
because it feels like Radu does change seemingly halfway through, because he wasn't using his original coffin. It's not that the coffin's moved; it's because they go to the coffin and it's empty. But anyway, so the one rule that they do bring up is that a vampire can't enter a holy place without an invitation. So clearly that means they can walk in anywhere else uninvited, but they can't walk into a church uninvited. So Stefan...
That's not a bad, like, little bit of lore. Like, that's kind of interesting.
It's if it tickles your fancy, it's all right. So Stefan leaves short-haired lady and old man there. But this point she knows he's a vampire and they've already kissed, and then she felt weird about it afterwards. But they stay in the church because they'll be safe there from Radu while Stefan goes and looks for him. But the dead American girl who's a vampire now starts like yelling out for the short-haired chick, and she comes outside. She runs outside immediately like an idiot. Not even the old man's like, she's a vampire now, you can't trust her. But she runs out to greet her anyway. And this was actually the worst like structural thing of the whole movie, is that she runs out. You don't even really see what happens. She's just kidnapped, and then she wakes up in chains next to the foreign girl in chains. But then when she gets them both out, she immediately like picks the lock or something to get out, and she helps her friend out. And then it turns out the friend who was also chained up is also a vampire now. So so basically Radu's trying to get his 3 brides of Radu, right? That's what he's trying to do with these 3. Right? And they're going to turn into a vampire. They strap her down a table. They've put this white dress on her, and we've seen nothing from Stefan or the old man looking for her or being worried or like making like a build up attention of them trying to get to her in time. He just bursts in the door like as she's getting bit, and it's like, okay, I guess we're having a fight scene now to end the movie. And that's what it is. A chandelier falls on one of the vampire chicks. I can't even remember what happened to the other one, but Radu gets his head chopped off.
Yeah, you think it'd be more memorable, but
it's not.
Really
it's really not.
Yeah.
No. If you were hoping it was going to be bookended with the best scenes, no. It started with the best scene and then never lived up to that at any point in the entire movie. Which is smart, because it'll get people to stick around in the hopes that they'll get other good scenes, but I don't think it ever quite achieved that.
Yeah, it's a shame, because there's definitely stuff in here I liked, but yeah, there are definitely long stretches of just kind of uninteresting or tedious stuff.
Yeah, basically, short-haired lady thinks that she asked like, will I be okay, because she was bit, she was being bit when the others burst in, and he says, I'm not really sure. So she says to Stefan, I don't want you to be like Radu, I'd rather be like you. So bite me and make me one of you. So he does. He doesn't want to at first, but he agrees to it. He bites her, And then the end of the movie is Radu's eyes opening up as these little blood demon dudes are trying to help him. Actually, the part that I glossed over where they drop the net is when he actually finds the other girl chained up before we know she's a vampire, and they drop a net on him, and we get like a good 30 seconds of Stefan trying to fight his way out of a net.
I always like wonder, like, anytime anyone gets trapped by a net, like, is that really that hard to get out of?
I don't think so. It's this movie's really boring, Tim. You know, I didn't remember liking it that much, but it's definitely a really boring movie. It's got a couple of good little moments, and definitely the opening scene's memorable, but yeah, these main characters are all dull as shit, and the romance is barely worth mentioning.
Yeah, and they're, you know, the one thing you kind of are hoping for, like, in a, you know, cheesy, you know, quote unquote bad movie or whatever, is like, at least it'll be like over the top characters saying dumb, funny stuff that, you know, if there was stuff like that you could at least laugh at, like in between the cool vampire scenes, like that'd be one thing. But unfortunately, it's not. Like you said, the characters are all just very dull. They're never really talking about anything interesting. It's always just vague stuff like, we're students trying to study a very broad topic, and we're just going from scene to scene, and like, yeah, just like touching tree branches or like stuff that it sucks. I just feel bad because I feel like Radu deserves better. Like, he's such a fun, over the top character.
Yeah,
that,
isn't it wild?
You know,
that, again, when I was saying how like the stuff from like the short hair chick, whose name's Michelle, I should have been saying that, but I couldn't be asked remembering it. Her being captured, to being chained, to finding out her friend's a vampire, to being tied on a table, and then this guy showing up to rescue her, all happen back to back to back with no like build up in between any of these moments. And it's actually criminal that there's not like a scene with the Radu before he puts her on the table where he's monologuing at her about what he's going to do. Like, that feels like the obvious thing to have there that might have been a fun scene because he's overacting and chewing the scenery, but they just skip over it, so they don't even give him enough to do.
Yeah. Like, you think that like the Bloodstone would be like a bigger plot point or something, but it is kind of just like, oh, I have this thing now.
Yes, I mean, Stefan wants it because that's how he feeds, I guess. So he wants it. He wants to get it from him. But that's it. Which begs the question, like, why does like Radu even really care? Like, if he can just go and feed on the other people anyway, then why need the Bloodstone? He just likes having both, I guess.
All right. Pete, you vamp for like 10 seconds. I'm going to let my dog out. It'll just be a second. He's been nudging me for the last like 15 minutes.
I like that Tim used the word vamp. Obviously, in this context, I know what he means, and vamping in a musical sense where you're just kind of talking more. But given that we're talking about a vampire movie, the use of the word vamp was quite on point there.
Thank you. I thought of it and giggled to myself.
Just him trying to prove that he is a genius, as was brought up earlier in the show.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm very witty.
Would you like to rate Subspecies, Tim?
It's pretty tough because, yeah, again, there's definitely some fun elements. I mean, heck, it's just fun even being like, hey, let's watch Subspecies. Like, it's a lot more fun than being like, hey, let's watch, I don't know, Come Play or whatever, you know, like, just saying Subspecies is
that sounds like a video I saw on Pornhub earlier.
Oh, you sick deviant.
You just said deviant because I said it's like you learned a new word and you wanted to use it to prove that you knew it too.
What are you talking about? I say deviant all the time. Yeah, but this movie it's not so good. I mean, the Radu parts are pretty fun, but I mean, like, watch the opening scene and then, you know, go do the dishes and stuff for a while. That's the kind of movie that this is made for. So I can't go super high. I guess Radu was entertaining enough for me that I will give it maybe. Is 4.5 too high? It's not a very high score, but I mean, maybe I'll do that. I'll do 4.5 just because I'm such a Radu fanboy. What can I say?
Yeah. I'm gonna.
And then I just want to reiterate too, like I really do like how I know like the hip thing to do is to give like villains a lot of nuance and be like, oh, like, you know, this is his worldview and this is why, you know, he turned out the way he did and blah blah blah. But like, I don't know, I just like a good old fashioned like villain that's just evil for no reason. Like they're just a piece of shit. like that's like what Radu is. Like he clearly like, you know, had like a pretty cool chill dad, you know, but he was just like a grumpy evil bastard, you know. And I don't know, I kind of like just like really crappy villains like that. And again, I do like, you know, when, you know, in the era of, you know, sexy vampires, I love vampires that just look gross as shit. Like he's just, yeah, if there's like different species of vampires, like, you know, he'd come from like the Nosferatu bloodline, just with the, you know, the huge curly fingers and like big sharp pointy teeth and stuff, and the accent is just so fun to do. So yeah, just a, you know, very fun character. I do want to watch the rest of the movies. I heard that they do go kind of downhill from here, so I don't know what that is gonna entail. But I believe it's the same guy playing Radu through all 5 films, so I'm ready for some more fun with that.
Yeah. Well, I'll just give it a 4 out of 10.
Okay.
But it's not the worst thing ever, but it is pretty boring and stuff. Yeah. It's not good, so 4 out of 10. I mean, I'm maybe slightly optimistic that the second one has 0.4 higher rating on IMDb, so maybe we're in for a good time. I say
0.4 better.
Interestingly, it seems to be a different actress playing Michelle, so the character's back, but it's a different actress. Also, Melanie Shatner is in it, and I just checked. I think she is related to William Shatner.
Oh my!
I didn't completely confirm it, but she has a small role in Star Trek V, which Shatner directed. So I have to imagine that there is a connection.
Melanie, you must do my new movie.
I thought you'd never seen Star Trek.
I haven't. I've just seen whatever, I don't know, dumb show that parodies it, Family Guy or something, probably.
Okay. Anywho, that's Subspecies. Tim made me watch it. It's his fault.
Well, at least we got our vampire flick out of the way.
Yeah, although you're threatening me with 4 more of them. So we'll see what happens with that. Maybe there'll be bonus episodes rather than regular episodes or something. But this has been.
I could see us doing a couple of boners about for this movie.
We already picked bonus episode. We already recorded another bonus episode.
We're gonna have so many bonus episodes. You're not gonna know what to do with yourself. I'm talking to the patrons now. They're gonna have to quit their jobs to listen to all the bonus episodes.
Yeah, but then they can't afford Patreon, so that's a bad idea.
Yeah, we don't like the unemployed on this network.
That's not what I was saying, but yeah, very good. Yes, you can support us over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and get extras for your trouble, including bonus episodes, and so on, as well as bonuses for other shows and all sorts of things.
There might be a new show that talks about Sonic.
I didn't agree to that. What?
Are you doing a video game show now?
There is a monthly video game show that I'm doing with Connor, yes.
Yeah. And you guys never talk about Sonic on it?
I mean, the first 2 episodes, I don't think it came up once, no.
Well, I mean, eventually you'll talk about Sonic, I'm sure.
I'm sure eventually it'll somehow come up, yes, but...
Well, there you go.
I would hardly describe it as the show where we talk about Sonic. That'd be like us saying this is the show where we talk about Subspecies when we've had 500 plus episodes. Well, this episode was, but 500 plus episodes before we got to this one, Tim, where Subspecies was probably never uttered.
Yeah.
All right, that's the show, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us.
Let us know what your favorite subspecies in the comments are.
Hopefully you enjoyed this wackier episode, because the movie's quite straightforward. So thank you once again. We'll see you next time. Keep watching scary movies, and we'll see you next time.